When you're in the midst of your battle, your spiritual confrontation, your moments where decisive action needs to be taking place, but you feel compelled to pray for help. In those moments, there is more going on than what meets the physical eye. Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, day number 4, the Torah portion, B'Shalach, when he sent. So let's go back to chapter number 14. I'm trying to get out to chapter 15, but there's too much here, and I don't want us to miss it. Let's go back to a previous verse, chapter 14 of the book of Shemot or Exodus, and verse number 6 and 7. Regarding Pharaoh, it says, "So he made his chariot ready and took his people with him, and he took 600 choice chariots, and all the chariots of Mitzrayim with officers over all of them." Reading rabbinical commentaries will give you a little clue here on this particular verse. And that is that the redundancy of what's being said here is a clue. For those that may be new to studying the Torah or new to Hebraic understanding of Scripture, when you read the Torah, there's a couple of principles that we need to keep in mind. Number one, nothing that is necessary for you and I to know is missing. The Torah is complete. It is perfect in its presentation. Translations may offer us some challenges, but especially in the original language of Hebrew, the Torah is perfect. That is not to say that there is only one level of understanding. There are multiple levels of understanding, various vantage points and viewpoints of ways of looking at things. We have the basic reading of the page, just the general information that's at hand. We have the resh, which is more of an analogy. You see things tied together, chasing verses that have similar wordings, phrasings. The drosh, which is an expounding on, and it's in the expounding and the sharing together what we do oftentimes on Shabbat, that a greater understanding and wisdom comes out of the midst of us. And then there's the sod level that is spiritual, it is mystical, it's mysterious, it's very, very deep, and it takes a trained mind to get there. I can peek at it and get glimpses of it, but I have to confess, a lot of the sod level things are over my head. I still read them and try to grasp them, but it's heady stuff, and you have to be prepared for it. That being said, when we read this particular scripture, what we're getting at the general level is Pharaoh got in his chariot. He chose 600 chariots of Mitzrayim, and he took all of them. But when you read it again, even in the English translation, it says, he took 600 choice chariots. And then there's the redundancy of, and all the chariots of Mitzrayim with officers over all of them. Well, if he took all of the chariots of Mitzrayim, why are we told that he took 600? Again, the Torah is perfect. All the information is there. Nothing is left out that needs to be in there. It's there. Let's also understand that when things are worded awkwardly or redundantly, or you would think, why is it going into all these details when I would have preferred other details about another matter here? I needed more information over here and less over here. But the Torah is written correctly. So when we see things like I just read to you, little flags need to be waving in your mind and in your reading and say, wait a minute. Why is it written that way? It's in the investigation and the searching of that you'll begin to learn and gain insight. So there is an obscure verse that we would never make the connection with, perhaps, in the book of Isaiah, chapter number 19, Verse number 2. Yah is prophesying pertaining to Mitzrayim. As a matter of fact, let's go back to verse 1. The message concerning Mitzrayim. So Yahweh is riding on a swift cloud, and he shall come into Mitzrayim. And the idols of Mitzrayim shall tremble at his presence, and the heart of Mitzrayim shall melt in its midst. Now, we're not talking then just about peoples. He's coming for a spiritual encounter, for even the gods or the demons or the spirits behind their gods, their idols, are going to tremble at his presence. It's a spiritual level first encounter. Verse 2, and I shall stir up Mitzrites against Mitzrites, and they shall fight, each one against his brother, each one against his neighbor, city against city, reign against reign. Now, when we read that, we would think, well, we're talking about inter-tribal warfare, perhaps. Just one city pitted against the other for some reason. But it starts with a confusion in the heavenlies. Matter of fact, that's what the rabbinical mind says, that he will confuse Mitzrayim with Mitzrayim, or Egypt with Egypt. By that, we understand that the warfare that is taking place when you and I are in those desperate moments, when we're looking to the heavens, will you show me what to do? We need to move. We need to move now. We need to act now. We need to make a decisive decision here and get going. In those moments, it may be more than what's immediately in front of you and known to you. There is the spiritual realm to be encountered as well. Make no mistake about it, when all these physical realm manifestations of plagues were taking place in Mitzrayim, there was a spiritual war going on in the heavenlies simultaneously. And what they were seeing in frogs and lice and water turned to blood, etc., were simple physical realm manifestations of things in the heavenlies. When you read the book of Daniel, when you read the book of the Revelation, you will see that there are things that are taking place in the heavenly realm unseen to human eyes, but they have consequences in the earth. Now we understanding that, we go back to this verse and it says that he will confuse Mitzrayim with Mitzrayim. That is, that Pharaoh, according to a more sowed level, mystical level of understanding, he not only took all of the physical realm chariots of Mitzrayim, his entire chariot arsenal, but he also took 600 choice ones, that is, of a heavenly or more spiritual understanding. So that then when Yah says to Moshe, stop praying, hold up the rod in your hand over the waters, he divided the Israelites from Mitzrayim, from their army, by his cloud, caused the wind to blow all night until the waters were parted and the ground was dry. Israel starts out on a dry ground journey. When the cloud moves and allows Pharaoh to see what's taking place, his heart is so hard that he pursues into what is an obvious supernatural setting. But they're at the location of Baal-Zephon. This is the last god in the Egyptian or Mitzrite understanding of the pantheon of their gods that has not yet been defeated. And perhaps in his mind he's thinking, my charioteers in the heavenlies are given to us a great victory, and we have them now. We're going to overtake them. My spiritual powers are making a way for me. So he pursues. It says that the messenger of Elohim looked down to the cloud. One way of saying it is he loosened the lug nuts on the chariot wheels, and the wheels began to fall off. And they were trapped. What's going on? The war in the heavenlies was being won by the hand of Yahweh himself, and Pharaoh and his army, without any supernatural enablement, they began to falter, fail, and realize their own fallibilities and frailties. And the waters consumed them. In those moments where you're crying out to the heavens, it's time to act. It's time to move and trust that Yah's got this. Yah's already won the battle for us in the heavenlies, and he will reveal that victory in the physical realm around us. Be encouraged. More tomorrow. To then, shalom.